Hey there, I'm Greg Kaiser, and I'd like to welcome you to what's kind of a first time video for me. We're going to actually do my monthly behind the camera feature a little different this month, and it's significant considering I've been doing behind the camera for, I don't know, probably 15 years, and I've always done it in a written blog form. I like being able to take the time to type it out and think about everything. And make it a little bit more polished so that when you're reading it, you might overlook some of the things that I might missay or something like that. I like to have it a little bit more polished. I'll go ahead and apologize right now. I am not a video editor, never claimed to be, and what you're going to see here is going to be pretty much a single take, and we're going to go from there. For those that don't know, my Behind the Camera series is one of those features that I do where I talk about some of the things going on in and around my photography that are not actually directly related to, say, a trek or a certain tip or trick, something like that. It's just kind of giving everybody an idea of what's going on with my photography kind of behind the scenes. And I chose to do this video instead of blog for two reasons. Number one, I'm getting older, I'm getting lazy, and I didn't want to try to hammer out all of this on a keyboard and try to figure out how to bring images in that I'd want to share and to give you an idea. The second reason is I really think that this is an opportunity to let you kind of see something that is really important and get to know me a little bit better in the process. This is almost kind of a continuation, part 3, if you will, maybe part 4. It all started at the end of 2021. And that kind of tells you where we're at right now. We're more than halfway through 2024. And the first time I mentioned the topic here was back in actually January 1st, 2022, part of my Behind the Camera, the year-end wrap-up that I had begun to write in the winter months of 2021. And I want to go ahead and get into that and show you what we're talking about. And this is the written blog Behind the Camera that I did January 1st of 2022. And the highlighted part here is what I want to get into. I mean, obviously there's a lot of other information here. Feel free to go back into my blog and read through that and just see what was going on way back when. But this is the part that I want to kind of highlight quite literally here. While working on these year-end blog entries, I was made aware of a project that a local publishing company was embarking on by a client of mine. Just so happens it was a client out in Ashe County, and I had stopped and dropped off a print for her that she had ordered and found that she had a really cool barn, which we're going to see more of later, and an old country store. We'll also see more of that here in a little bit. She kind of sent me a Facebook message, told you one take, and I'm not real good with doing this ad lib as we're going, but we'll make it through. I looked at what she'd sent and saw that they were wanting to highlight Ashe County photographers. My first response was this was one of those schemes to get catalog of stock imagery, which seems to be the trend these days. And there is a lot of that goes on, so be very careful with these kind of solicitations for pictures. But I did look at it deeper since it was a respected book publisher, McFarland Books, based out of Ashe County in Jefferson, actually. Looked at it deeper. It was a respected book publisher, and they had done a similar book with painters in the past, and that was actually Painters and Their Paintings with the lead author, Doug Munroe. So I did a little bit of research there. The concept that they wanted to feature was about 100 photographers that worked in the area of Ashe County and select around 3 of their images to include. Okay, I'm on board. I like the concept. And each photographer would receive a brief narrative about what they do and who they are. Okay, sounding very promising, but I figured it was going to be a selling their book to a captive audience type thing, and we've all heard about this. We will feature your pictures, and you can get as many copies as you want, and it's $40 a piece or $30 a piece or something like that, and it's a captive audience. They're selling only to the people that are contributing to the book. So that's another red flag that popped up. But they went on to say that the featured photographers would actually receive a copy of the book for free as payment for the use of their photographs. That told me there was something legitimate about this, because essentially I was going to get the book for free. They were intending on selling these books beyond the photographers and the people that were in the book. Now, obviously, the photographers are probably going to buy several copies as well, but it was sounding like a really good idea. It's not really a high payment for the use of imagery in the book, but taking everything into account, it was reasonable, and it fit into what I was wanting and needing in my photography at the time. I also felt that what they were doing was the correct thing from a publisher standpoint, and it was the first time I'd really run into this, and I really liked the idea. I decided to go ahead and I could submit up to 5 images to the publisher to see if it might be selected, and wouldn't know anything until March of this year, meaning March of 22. Now, the really weird thing here is I was thinking this is a really quick turnaround, that we would know something already in just a couple of months as far as who was going to be selected, because I knew there was going to be a lot of photographers that were going to be submitting images. And I went ahead and submitted 5. I could submit 5 images. They had to be in Ashe County. I don't think there was a time limit on them or anything like that, but as luck would have it, I had been working in and around Ashe County probably for the better part of 2021. We had just moved into the foothills of North Carolina into Wilkes County, just south of Ashe, in the summer of 2020. So I'd been here for about a year and a half and spent a good portion of that recent time getting to know the area. And there was a lot of great stuff up in Ashe County, from old cars to barns and that sort of thing. So I ended up selecting 5 different pictures, and they were pretty much barns. I could have done a lot with cars, but my thought was the cars would not really tell the story of the area, and I kind of got the feeling that McFarland Books and Kim Hadley, Doug Munroe, were wanting to kind of tell the story of Ashe County in a visual manner. And while I like my old rusted cars, that could be found pretty much anywhere. The barns, the architecture were kind of unique to the area, so that's what I kind of went with and wanted to go ahead and select those kind of books. As things went on, we were supposed to know something about the book towards the end of 2022, and that didn't take place, and then it was going to be the summer of 2023, and then by the end of 2023, in each one of the year-end reviews, I would mention this book and kind of where we were in the process, and it was starting to go kind of long. But honestly, I thought the timetable that they had started with was very optimistic. If you've been reading through my behind the camera blogs, you know that I've had an interest in getting a book published of my own prints for a while, and I know the scope of what goes in. Not enough to be able to do it right now, but I know that there's a lot that goes into it. So it seemed very optimistic, and I wasn't disheartened or anything when I got notification that, well, it's not going to be this season. Let's look 6 months down the road for getting the book published and that sort of thing. It really honestly didn't bother me. I was just looking forward to whether or not I was going to be in the book. And ultimately, they did select 5 of my images to be in the book, and I went in and did the interview with them and just really went along with the program and was looking forward to seeing how this book was going to turn out. And a week ago at the time of this video being made, that would be Friday the 10th, I think it was, I got notification that was going to be the book signing and official book release, and it was going to be done at the Catchlight Gallery up in Ashe County, which I thought was very fitting. This is one of the very few art galleries that caters to photographers. Most of them treat photographers as the red-headed stepchild, have them put them in the back room somewhere, and maybe turn the lights on every once in a while just to see if the frames need to be dusted. But the Catchlight Gallery is one where they do celebrate photographers in the area, and it is nothing but photography. So it's a great little place for finding photography from the area. But I went and picked up my copy of the book and got both Kim Hadley and Doug Munroe to sign it, and it was great. It's the second time I'd seen them both, and after many, many years, here we are in the summer of 2024, and we have an official book. And as you see, it's titled Photography in Ashe County, North Carolina. It's by Kim Hadley and Doug Munroe, and it is a soft cover book. I would have loved to have seen a hardcover book, but it probably would have been a little cost prohibitive for the project. So as far as soft cover goes, this is extremely high quality. I like the kind of satin finish on the cover here. The colors and everything look tremendous. Kim Hadley is a photographer, so she knows how photography should be looking. She knows about the color, space, and all this stuff, and she gave us great instructions on how to submit our photos, and I think everything came together, I mean, just really, really high quality. Even for paperback, I think this is great quality. I'm very proud to be a part of this project. There's a lot of different things with this book that I can go into and just tell you how much I like. I do like how they've got all the photographers laid out here in the table of contents, and there are a total of 76 photographers that are listed here. They're in alphabetical order, so if you already know who that you're wanting to look at in the book, Greg Kaiser in the case, but if you know who you're looking for in here, you just go alphabetically, and there we are, Greg Kaiser, and I start on page 157. We've got some other fantastic photographers here, and as you look through the names, you may recognize some, you may not. I recognize a fair amount of them from social media and just being in the area. A lot of them I don't recognize. There are some professionals, some enthusiasts, and there are some that shoot with their cell phones. It was a juried entry, which means that everybody had to submit the images that they thought represented their work. And a judge would, or I think it was several judges, went through and said, yes, this is good enough to be in the book. So there were some that did not make the cut. In fact, Doug Munroe talks about in here, he submitted some of his photographs and he didn't quite make the cut. He thought they were pretty good. I haven't seen them, but I know that he's a painter, so he does have an artistic eye. So I know that there's at least that quality going for him. So making that cut is something that I think is impressive, and I'm proud to be one of the photographers that was included in this book. But it's more than just the photographers in the area. They go through basically the history of photography in Ashe County. And it talks about from the back when Eastman Kodak was just getting started, and they went through and they found a bunch of these old images in the archives, and it just shows the area and all the different things, and you see the people of the area, and these were all found in archives. These were not any of the submitted images, but they were found in archives, and it just shows, again, the history of photography in Ashe County. And I found that just, great. Here we've got a picture of a fire truck here that probably was reasonably new then, and now it'd be one of those subjects that I would love to find, because I guarantee it's got some great patina on it, if it's still around. But every part of this book flows so well, and the quality of the photographs. We've got a mix of black and white and color here, but considering that we're looking at archived photographs, just the print quality here in this book is tremendous. And I think that both Doug and Kim, having the artistic eyes and the eyes of photographers, know the quality of what they want in the book. And I think they did a great job. And it just shows a lot of the different stuff that is available out here. And then we go in, and we're 35 pages in now, and we're starting to get into the submitted photographs. So it starts off again in the A's and goes alphabetical. But each one of these, and Kevin Balling, he's one, and I just flipped right to the page. He's one that immediately caught my attention early on when I started looking through the book, because that's my kind of stuff. That speaks to my photographic soul right there. I love it. I love the black and white. I love the subject matter. I enjoy his compositions. I like the sky. There's a lot going on there that I really, really like. And I still haven't looked through this book completely and looked through all the photographers. I've thumbed through it a couple times. I've only had this book for a week, and I've had a lot of other things going on, so I haven't had time to really go through the book like I want to, but it's going to be a coffee table book here in the Kaiser household, and I think it is definitely worthwhile to have it there. But since this is kind of behind the camera dealing with me, I'm going to scoot forward to this part right here, not the astrophotography. That I have a lot of respect for those photographers that can do it. I don't have a knack for it, but here on page 157 is me, and it starts out, talking about my history in photography, and then we've got, pictures that I've submitted and ones that I was really proud of from the area. So we've got several different pages here that go into this book that are dedicated to my photography, and that is actually very humbling to be included in a book that I think includes some very, very strong photographers that are local to this area, and to have made the cut to be included with them. I'm very proud of that. I think that Kim and Doug had photos that were selected that went well together for the overall theme of the book. It does tell a story about Ashe County and the people, and there's a lot of people pictures in this, a lot of slice of life, like street photography almost, close-ups, macro, insects, architecture, history, activities, some sports. I mean, there's just a little bit of everything in there, and it makes me appreciate the area that I am close to even more than I already did. And I've gotten lost out in Ashe County more times than I can count trying to find subjects to take pictures of. And I can tell from this book there's a lot more out in the county for me to find. So look for fall and winter, me doing a little bit more traveling up that way when things start to clear out, because I see a lot more to Ashe County than even I knew was there, and that's one of the powerful things with the book. But I'd like to go in and talk about the pictures that I selected real quick, and we're going to go in, and this is in Photoshop, and I just brought the pictures up. If you were paying attention a couple minutes ago, you will recognize these pictures as being the ones that were involved or included in the book, and I wanted to go ahead and start off and just do a brief explanation of the pictures. And this is a barn. I've now shot this one twice, and this is the second time, and I wanted to get some atmosphere up here, and I really wanted more color in the trees, and I went out, fairly early autumn. I didn't want full color here because then the roof would blend in too much. I really wanted a little bit more color than this, but I wanted that lifting fog, just so I didn't have that just kind of straight horizon in the back. I wanted a little bit more blending. So I got the atmosphere and the mood that I wanted here. I got a little bit of the color, which matched in with the red roof. And this picture, I think, had a better mood than the first time I shot it. The compositions are very much the same. It just worked really well. It's a little bit difficult to shoot other angles because to the right of this, there's another small barn that doesn't necessarily fit in with this composition, and to the left you start getting into the road going to an elementary school, so that becomes a little bit difficult. But I found this composition for me is very pleasing. I like the barn quilt, and it just kind of picked up all the different things that I thought kind of illustrated Ashe County. The next one I brought in was one, and this was one of those times when I really did get lost. And it took me a little while to figure out that, yeah, this was actually still in the limits of Ashe County. And this was on a road that I was just getting turned around on. A lot of times I'll go down a road for a while and say, okay, there's nothing down here. Let me pull over on this road and get turned around. Of course, I'm still looking, and just up to, top of the hill, I saw this barn. Well, ironically enough, I went up and looked, and the sky looked really great behind it. An angle, because the best angle on it was down lower on the hill but all we were getting was kind of this side of the barn and then a lot of the roof material here, the tin. I tried going up the hill a little bit and shooting down, and then we'd get the house that's over here, and didn't like those, and this straight on view just didn't have any oomph for me at the time. However, when I was going back and forth between the two sides of this barn to shoot, the sun came out just enough to start casting a shadow here, and we got a little bit of mottled light here on the tree, and most importantly, the barn lit up. And that was the moment when I was like, okay, I've got this shot. And I put the tripod down on the ground real quick, framed up the picture, and shot it. And within, I think, 2 or 3 frames, the light was gone. This was all back in shadow, and again, it was very flat. But this is one of those spur-of-the-moment shots. It wasn't a composition I was planning. I reacted. We have this great frame from the shadow and the tree limb over here. It all makes sense. The clouds behind work with the framework, frames the top of the tin roof here, so we actually have some separation. And there was just so much going for this, I couldn't help but include this one in my submissions for the 5. And here's another one. I'd gotten lost, and by getting lost, I mean I was down a single-track dirt road, 4-wheel drive, and almost got stuck twice, kind of lost. And when I finally came out on a paved road, I was trying to get my bearings as to where I was, and I saw this, what I thought was a house, sitting off on the side, and it just looked amazing. Now there is another house right here out of frame on the left and another one right out of frame on the right, but this spoke to my decay heart. I wanted to get some pictures, so I got the truck parked and got out and tried to frame up something, and I started making some shots, and the sky just kept getting better and better. Got a little bit of light on the wood here, and then we had these birds start to fly in. And I got very lucky, and there were 3 of them, and they were positioned like this. I was lucky enough to have a fast enough shutter speed to freeze those birds. It was not an intention, it was just pure luck. But I loved how this picture looks with the mood that it gives. It has this very scary, ominous mood. And come to find out, it actually was a hospital from the 1860s, if I remember correctly. And it was repurposed later on, and then eventually it was left abandoned. But I mean, the structure is still very, very unique, and I love the textures here on the wood, and that was one of those. And because it had such a history, and being a hospital in Ashe County, I had to include this one. I'm really glad that I did, because it turned out great in the book. And I said we'd be talking about this one again. When I was making my delivery to my client in Ashe County, this was her barn. It's an old dairy barn, and it was part of a very large farm. And of course, there was snow on the ground when I made the delivery, and it was just amazing to look at. I didn't have my camera at the time. The light was also not good. It was very bright and sunny that day. But I came back the next day because we had some really good skies. And I worked this barn for quite a while, and finally ended up with this composition that kind of shows the scope of the barn, and just it gives a lot of curve to it, with this silo being the focal point. Interesting point, I actually sold a print of this to another client in Ashe County very shortly after making the print and posting it on Facebook, I believe. And she had a whole history done on this dairy farm, including employee rosters and just all the publicly available history that she had been able to find on this barn. She made copies of all that and gave that to me, and I've still got that sitting in the bookshelf. And I mean, I enjoy going back and looking at the history of this barn just through that archived history. The last picture that I submitted was across the street from that barn. This was shot on the same day, and this is the Old Country Store, which is right behind my client's house, again across the street from the barn. And this country store is now back opened. At the time that I shot it, it had been closed down due to the pandemic, but they do musical events there for local musicians, and there's a gathering there. I think she said once a month. But they do have a lot of different things going on here at the country store, and she wants to keep the history alive of this store. And that is a lot of why I like to do the photography that I do, is to keep that history alive, because eventually the subjects like this aren't going to be here. This may be a Dollar General here in the next 2 years. I hope not. But the reality is these structures will eventually fall and be replaced by something else. And it may just be the photography that keeps it alive. So that's why I spend so much time photographing this type of stuff, and why it means so much to me. So these are the 5 pictures that I have included or had submitted, and they were all juried in and included, as you saw in my little bit. It's kind of my current 2 minutes of fame, and again, I'm very, very proud of doing that. And I really can't explain how proud I am of being a part of this project. One of my biggest goals has been to publish a book. And in the year that I was told that I was going to be a part of this book, it wouldn't be one just of me, but that's okay. I was going to be part of this book. I also had a book cover attributed to my photography with some other content by another friend and client of mine, and it was the Joe Gaither story, and you might have seen the behind the camera entry on that. And that was one that I was really happy to be a part of too. So while I don't have my own book at this point, there are publications out there that have my work in them. And that means a lot to me. And it's something that gives my photography a sense of worth. Because a lot of what I shoot just ends up going on social media, on my website. I talk about it in a blog, and then in my mind it kind of gets forgotten. And that doesn't always feel great. As a creative, as an artist, I create because that's my voice. That's how I express myself. But at the same time, I'm creating for others by creating things that I like, if that makes sense. And that's something that I like to try to portray through this Behind the Camera series, is just how much of me I put into these pictures. And while I shoot things that mean something to me, I do want them to mean something to other people. I want other people to look at the pictures, wonder about them, create stories behind them, be interested in them, want to converse about them, want to look at them on a regular basis on the walls. As you can see, well, okay, the pictures back here on my wall, these are, of course, pictures I've shot, and they make great prints. And I enjoy looking at this for myself, but there's a certain point where you really want your work, your art, your photos to go and do something beyond just you. And it's simple things like this book right here that I think give my pictures some validity. And to be included with the other photographers in this book, it's nothing short of amazing to me. Having imposter syndrome in a really, really bad way, it's really easy for me to say, my photography is not that good, nobody really wants to see it. And then at the same time, I also have evidence that my photography is being enjoyed by others. And that's hard to discount, and that means a lot to me. And it's something that I can constantly look back on and help drive me further. So for those creatives out there, always feel confident enough to put your art out there. It may be enjoyed, it may not be enjoyed, but you have to be confident enough to at least put it out there in some way so you can get some feedback. And this kind of feedback is some of the best feedback, because nobody's under any obligation to put me in a book or to hire me out to shoot the cover of a book or to buy a print or to seek instruction from me through mentorships, workshops, anything like that. Nobody's under those obligations. So when it happens, that's kind of irrefutable proof that I'm doing at least something right. So all those that have taken part in filling those voids in my artistic journey, I do want to give a heartfelt, sincere thank you. Whatever you have done in those ways has meant the world to me and has helped push me in my own craft to get better, to feel like I deserve the attention that you have given me. So all of that works together to push me to learn more, to do more, and to take part in more projects like this. Now, if you are looking at getting this book, Photography in Ashe County, North Carolina, I do highly suggest that you do that. And we are actually coming on the, I guess, kind of official public release. We've had the book signing and the pre-release party. So I've got one of the first few copies that were out, and I'm honored for that. But there is a release date. I'm going to go ahead and bring back my screen here on Amazon, and I'll leave a link. And by the way, I'm affiliate with Amazon, so if you do purchase it through my link, I get a couple of dollars, not even a couple of dollars, a couple pennies from the sale. Doesn't cost you anything, doesn't change anything with your order. It's just if you use my link and order at the same time you use that link, then it's going to help me out a little bit, as well as helping McFarland out and Kim and Doug. But right now it's pre-order price guaranteed. Don't know what the pricing is going to do in the future, but right now it's listed at $40. And honestly, I think that's a bargain for this book. For as much time that went into this in the planning, the judging, the compiling, all the historical stuff, putting everything together. Again, this started the end of 2021, and we're almost at the end of 2024. That's a very, very long time. And $40 a copy, I think, is very reasonable. But shows here that it's going to be released August 30th, 2024. So go ahead and get those orders in. August 30th, warehouses should be full, and they'll start sending those out. So go ahead and do the pre-order now and get that taken care of. Again, if you don't mind, use my link. Again, that helps push me forward and doesn't cost you anything. So I think with that, sorry about that. Like I said, I'm not good with video. This is why I take stills. It's better to work slow in my mind. I don't work fast trying to figure out buttons in real time and making it look polished. That's just not me. So here we go. You're seeing behind the camera. You're seeing the photographer behind the camera. You know, boo-boos and all. It's okay. I'm proud of my boo-boos, and I accept them and embrace them. But I do think that this is a great book. If you have any interest at all in the mountains of North Carolina, even the foothills of North Carolina, pick this up. You like history, you like kind of the rural areas. This is a fantastic book, and it's one that, I mean, is just, it's top quality from beginning to end, whether the picture is 120 years old or it's one that was shot at the end of 2021. They did a remarkable job with it. I think they did it in a very fast, very quick amount of time, even though their original estimate was a whole lot shorter. I'm glad they took the extra time, and a lot of the emails that Kim sent out was, I'm sorry this is taking so long. I want this to be a project that I'm proud of, meaning she wanted to be proud of it. And I think that her and Doug both have a project that they can be extremely proud of. And it's a testament to that detail-oriented, let's get everything taken care of and knock out all the typos and make sure all the pictures are right, make sure that the flow is good, and they did just a tremendous job. So I didn't think I could do this one justice in typed form, and I'd probably end up blabbing way more than I did here, and then it would be a matter of what pictures to include and all that. So we thought we'd try the video, the vlog, instead of a blog this time. So let me know in the comments, shoot me an email, let me know how you like this format for behind the camera, and I can do more behind the cameras in video in the future if you prefer it. So just let me know, and in the meantime, I mean, if you're a photographer, happy shooting. If you get this, happy reading and viewing. And until next time, and until, let's see, this is now September 1st, so October 1st, we will see you back here again. So thanks for joining, and again, this has been Behind the Camera, and I'm Greg Kaiser, and this is me. So thank you so much, and we'll see you here next month.